Try to remember your second birthday, the cake, the candles, the faces leaning over you, singing your name. You have probably seen a photo of that day, maybe even a shaky home video, so your mind can build a picture of it. But that picture is not a memory. It is a reconstruction, a story stitched together from evidence. The real moment is gone, completely. You were there for it. You were awake, alert, laughing, learning at a speed you will never match again. So why is there nothing left? You might assume the answer is obvious. You were just too young, too small, nothing worth saving. But the real answer is far stranger. For almost everyone alive, the first 2 or 3 years of life are a blank. No first steps, no first words, no first taste of anything. This blank has a name, and it is older than you might think. In 1899, Sigmund Freud noticed it too, and he called it infantile amnesia. He was wrong about almost every reason behind it, but he was right that it was real, and he was right that it demanded an explanation. Here is the first clue that the easy answer is false. You are not a blank slate as a baby, not even close. A baby is a learning machine. In your first year, you learned to recognize your mother's face out of every face on earth. You learned which sounds belonged to your language and which did not. You learned that objects still exist when they leave the room, that a dropped spoon falls down and never up, that crying brings warmth. This is an astonishing amount of knowledge. So if your infant brain could absorb the entire architecture of reality, why could it not hold on to a single afternoon? The researcher who cracked the first piece of this was Carolyn Rovey Collier. She wanted to know if babies could remember anything at all, so she designed something clever. She tied a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a colourful mobile hanging above the crib. The baby quickly learned that kicking made the mobile dance. That is a memory being formed in real time. Then she waited. Days later, she brought the same baby back. And the moment that mobile appeared, the baby started kicking, expecting the show. The memory was there. It had survived. So babies do remember. That changes everything, doesn't it? The uncomfortable truth is this. Your infant self was making memories constantly. The lights were on, someone was home. Those memories simply did not survive the journey to the person you are now. Something happened between then and here. Something erased the tape or hid it, or rewrote it in a language your adult mind can no longer read. To understand what, you have to look at the machine that makes memories in the first place. Deep in your brain sits a small, curled structure called the hippocampus. Think of it as the librarian of your mind. When something happens to you, the hippocampus is what files it away as a lasting personal memory, a thing that happened to you, in a place, at a time. Without a working hippocampus, the present moment never becomes the past. It just evaporates. And in a baby, that librarian is still being built. This is where the story takes its strangest turn. For a long time, scientists assumed infant memories faded because the baby brain was too undeveloped to store them well. Weak brain, weak memory. Simple. But newer research suggests something far more counterintuitive. The problem may not be that the baby brain is too weak. The problem may be that it is too busy growing. Two neuroscientists, Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn, studied this in young mice, whose brains follow rules very similar to ours, in the part of the hippocampus that builds memories. New brain cells are being born at a furious rate in early life. This process is called neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons. It sounds like a gift. More cells, more power. But there is a hidden cost. Every time a new neuron pushes its way into the circuit, it rewires the connections that were already there. Imagine a library where new shelves are being installed every single day, and every new shelf shoves the old books into different rooms, different floors, different buildings. The books are not destroyed, but the map to find them is redrawn so many times that the old locations become meaningless. Franklin and Jocelyn found that when they slowed this flood of new neurons down, the young mice held on to their memories longer. When they sped it up in adults, memories vanished. The very thing that makes a baby's brain a miracle of learning is the same thing that quietly buries its earliest records. So your forgetting is not a flaw. It is the receipt for your own rapid growth. Does that make it easier to accept or harder? But neurons are only half of it. There is a second reason those early years slipped away, and it has nothing to do with cells and everything to do with words. Ask yourself what a memory actually is. When you remember a real event, you narrate it. You were at a beach. It was hot. Your brother buried your feet in the sand and you laughed. Notice how much of that is language, place, sequence, cause, feeling, all threaded together into a little story with you at the centre. Now consider that a 1-year-old has almost none of those threads, no timeline, no sturdy sense of a continuous self that things happen to. Without the story, there is nothing to hang the moment on. The psychologist Catherine Nelson spent years studying how children's memory blooms exactly as their language does. As a child learns to talk, and especially as parents talk with them about the past, the child slowly learns how to build a memory that lasts. Where were we? What did we see? Who was there? These ordinary conversations are secretly training a child to file experience in a way that can be retrieved years later. Memory, it turns out, is partly a social skill, something you are taught. And if it is taught, then it should look different in different cultures. It does. The researcher Chi Wang compared the earliest memories of adults raised in different parts of the world. She found that people from cultures where families tell rich, detailed, self-focused stories about a child's day tend to have earlier first memories. People from cultures that emphasize the group over the individual child tend to have first memories that arrive later. The blank is not the same size for everyone. Its edges are drawn in part by the words spoken over you before you could speak back. Isn't it strange to think your oldest memory has a location on a map? Let this sink in. The reason you cannot remember being a baby is not one thing. It is a collision of forces. A librarian still under construction. A flood of new neurons redrawing the map every night. A mind without language, without a timeline, without a fully formed sense of a self that things happen to. All of it arriving at once in the loudest, richest, most formative years you will ever live. Now here is the twist that should keep you up tonight. Those years may be gone from your recall, but they are not gone from you. This is the part people miss. Just because you cannot narrate a memory does not mean it left no mark. The researcher, Patricia Bauer, has shown that the childhood forgetting is not a clean wall, but a slope, memories thinning out gradually the further back you reach. And beneath the reachable memories lies a deeper layer that never enters recall at all, yet still shapes you. The way you were held, the reliability of the face that came when you cried. Whether the world, in those first wordless years, felt safe or uncertain. None of this survives as a story you can tell. All of it survives as something quieter, a default setting, a baseline for how you expect closeness to feel, how you respond to comfort, how your body reacts before your mind has a chance to think. You cannot remember it, but you are still living inside its conclusions. So the next time you feel an emotion that seems to come from nowhere, a sudden ease with a certain person, an unexplained flinch, a comfort you cannot trace, consider where it might be coming from. Not from a memory you can summon, from a chapter written before you had the words to read it. You were the author. You just can never go back and see the page. There is something almost merciful in this. If you could remember infancy, you would remember being utterly helpless, unable to speak, to move, to protect yourself, to understand a single thing happening around you. The blank protects you from that. What it kept instead was the lesson, not the fear, the shape of love, without the memory of how small you were. So try one more time to remember your second birthday. You will fail. The cake, the candles, the singing faces, all of it dissolved long ago in the flood of a brain, too busy becoming you to keep a record of who you were. But that day was not lost. It was absorbed. It became part of the quiet machinery you carry into every room, every relationship, every moment you feel safe without knowing why. You cannot remember being a baby, but somewhere underneath the words, the baby remembers you.